Alright, so here's our artifact rundown video. I am looking at our Sprint 1 Cancer Chat tasks here, and for the first bit here, we were not really into the software part of things yet. We were trying to figure out what sort of architecture we were going to need, and so we were looking at various things we could do on the back end. Having spoken to the sponsor, they are using Liquid Web, or they have an account with Liquid Web, and they have an account with AWS. But currently they're using WordPress in a blog type format, and so in order for us to try and figure out how to do the back end, we started looking at what sort of options we could find, and so we ended up looking at a couple of things. We installed MySQL on a Raspberry Pi and tried to install Kafka on there, but wasn't able to get Kafka to run on the Raspberry Pi very effectively or at all, actually. And then but MySQL worked there, and I know we've had success getting MySQL running in different contexts with the database schema that we're looking for our project. We do have some of the things that we looked at were like Firebase, which is a Google platform, and that seemed to work out okay. That has its own native database that can be accessed, and so we created a Android shell program that would be able to connect to Firebase, and that seemed to work okay. So I mean, there was success there. So for the work that was done on Firebase, it was able to be closed. The work that I looked at for Kafka being on a Raspberry Pi was put into needs info. Raspberry Pi may not have been the best way to try to to evaluate whether or not that works. I know Duck is working on a way or looked at doing that as well. He's also in the needs info area here, but he also looked at Firebase. Plus, he's looked at PHP and XAMPP, and now AWS. And our sponsor already has an AWS account, like I mentioned before. So I think we would end up going with AWS. Our next meeting is going to be to see if we can get the credentials for the AWS server that he has, so that we can start building stuff onto that server, or implementing AWS for our project. There's some work being done that looks like it's in progress for the UI. There's the iOS version of the UI and the Android version of the UI. This has been uploaded into our Git server, Git repository. Looking to start doing code development for the next sprint. We got some work ahead of us for the software parts of the sprint, so getting ready to handle that aspect of things. I know there's been a lot of work surrounding just getting the architecture up here for this first sprint, and so we're gonna have some things that carry over. The AWS work is probably going to get more refined here for the next sprint, and then the Android and the iOS applications are going to get more work done to them so that they can be done in more detail. Those are being worked on in separate branches. And then I'm sure the API, whatever we use with AWS here in order to manipulate the database, will start getting more attention here in the second sprint. That is where essentially things stand for the artifacts. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.